welcome to this episode of Cali and Craig Talk. I'm Cali,
And I'm Craig.
and today we have a super special guest. We have one of our Deep Hearts White authors, Vicky Kinnaird, is here with us. Vicky, welcome to the show.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're so excited. I have so many questions for you.
hmm
I am such a fan of your social media because you're so active and you're always posting the coolest things about concerts and you have these adorable doggos. I'm such a fan. But what I want to talk about first, if it's okay with you, is your newest release that came out.
hmm
So that is the book called Never. And how much do you love it?
Oh, me? I
Yeah, how
really
much do you
love
love
it.
it?
I
Yeah.
started writing it at a really weird time because I wrote it during the first COVID lockdown here in the UK. So it kind of always will remind me of that. But it was
Mm,
nice to just have some time away from work and at home and just to be creative full time for a little while. I really loved it. So I
mhm,
that book will always have a special place in my heart, I think, because of that.
mhm.
It's the first time since I started publishing that I was able to dedicate myself solely to my writing. So it was
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. I asked that question because sometimes we have writers that write books, but they really are not in love with those books. Like they
hmm
like the book and they wrote it because they felt like they had a story to tell, but they
hmm
don't love the book. But this book is so beautiful that I feel like you have to fall in love with it when you wrote it. Did you fall in love with Peter?
Yeah. Like I've
Hmm.
always been a huge Peter Pan fan, but
Hmm.
weirdly enough, never the Disney version. I never liked the animated version of Peter Pan.
Hmm.
Always the original book and the original play. I was always a really big fan of growing up. So
Hmm.
getting the chance to actually sit and write my own version of Peter, and I love the way that he turned out because
Hmm.
I think in the original you get a glimpse of how vulnerable he is, but you don't really see it so much.
Hmm.
So now to see him kind of he there's a lot about himself he doesn't know. There's a lot about the world he doesn't know. And
Yeah.
I really loved that aspect of him. There was a real innocence to him, even though
Yeah.
he presents himself as really charismatic and like that kind of thing. So yeah, I loved writing him. I thought he was such a fun character.
Okay. And I jumped ahead so much so I don't know if you can tell that I love your book because I jumped ahead. So I assume that everyone knows about the book, but why don't you tell us a little bit about Never for people who have never heard of Never?
So Never is a kind of more upper YA retelling of Peter Pan, but it kind of focuses on Wesley, who kind of takes on the role of the Wendy character from the original. But this Wesley is like a high school senior. He lives in New York. He's been raised by a single mother, and he kind of crosses paths with Peter as a child and doesn't realize it.
Hmm.
And then Peter kind of shows up. I was going
Hmm.
to say at his door, but he actually shows up at his window
Hmm.
to kind of take him away to Neverland to help him save Neverland from Captain Hook's kind of latest dastardly plan. And kind of through that journey, we'll learn a lot about Wes, but also about Peter, and they kind of develop some very strong feelings for each other. And it's just, I kind of always say it's more of an adventure story because the romance in it is such a slow burn.
Hmm.
But there is definitely a romance angle to it as well.
Hmm.
And yeah, I just had a blast writing it, and it was so
Hmm.
much fun to
And
put
and
my
I
own spin
love
on
the
it.
cover too. The
Oh, the
cover
cover
is
is gorgeous.
beautiful. Oh man. Some like our cover artist, sometimes he just nails it. And that was
Mm-hmm.
one like when Craig sent it to me, he's like, look at the cover for Never. I was like, oh my gosh.
It's
It's
beautiful.
beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And I am going to apologize to listeners because it is the middle of the day here, and Vicky is in Scotland. And as
Mm-hmm.
we know, Craig is in Canada and Callie is in the US. So my children are running wild through my house right now. And I have already heard some screaming. So just so everyone knows, they're fine, they're having fun, but you may hear some loud noises in the background. And now I will let you ask a question, Bestie.
Yeah, sure. I'm always interested when people write retellings of a book, and I'm always curious about how do you make that decision of this is a story element I want to keep versus this is a story element I want to change. So like Never is based on some of the Peter Pan stories.
Mm-hmm.
how do you how did you make decision to make it your own book while still staying somewhat true to the original?
It was a weird situation because I went into it knowing that it was going to be fairly different. There's because just from the fact that Peter was going to be older, because obviously when you see him in media at the minute, he's kind of always portrayed as a child.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that that's not the route that I was going to go down. He was going to at least physically present as kind of someone in his late teens. So straight away, I was like, that's a massive change. And then I knew that Tinkerbell wasn't going to be the Tinkerbell that people are used to seeing. She's very, very different from. She's not like, a cute little pixie flying around, getting into mischief. So straight away, it was easier to tell what was going to be different than what was going to be the same. Even the setting, I think, is quite different because in most representations of Peter Pan, Neverland is its own separate thing, whereas in Never, it is it's part of the human world. You just need to kind of know that it's there and how to get into it, basically. So it was basically just there was elements of the story that I wanted to keep the fact that like Peter doesn't grow up, but I needed to have an explanation for that, which obviously isn't offered in the original media either. And so that was always going to be the same. I wanted there to be mentions of the Lost Boys, but never for there to be Lost Boys, because it was important to me that Peter was kind of lonely. So it was just, I found it easier to decide what was going to be different than I found it what was going to be the same. So that was a bigger challenge for me, working stuff in that people would recognize, but have it still come across as natural. That was the harder part, I think.
Yeah, it is. That is hard. You did a really good job with it too.
Thanks.
That is hard. Which Peter Pan version did you actually like the best? Did you like Hook when you were younger or no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked Hook, and obviously I think there's maybe a little bit of Hook in Never, in the sense that you kind of see what it would look like if Peter had left Neverland and had grown up. So I think there's more of that aspect. My favorite version of Peter Pan, if we're moving away from like the books and stuff, it's probably the Jeremy Sumpter version.
Okay.
I feel is like the closest one.
I don't know that one. Which one is that?
Oh, it came out, I think, in the early 2000s.
Okay.
That one. Yes, no, I know that one.
I don't know that one.
I think that one's, it's probably the one that's closest to the text. Like there's a lot of dialogue that's a direct lift from the book and stuff. So I thought that version was great. But yeah, no, there's definitely, I would say, a bit of Hook and Never for sure.
I have so many questions, so we're just gonna kind of bounce all over the place. Do you have more on that, Craig, or that was all?
That was all. That was a good answer.
That's so interesting too, that you knew what you were gonna cut before you knew what you were gonna keep. Yeah, like that's really cool. Isn't there another Disney movie that just became open that you could use now? I thought there was another one that just came out this year.
Steamboat Willie
Okay.
is now public domain. So there's a new horror movie coming out about Steamboat Willie, like not by Disney.
Yeah.
Interesting take. We'll see. We'll see. When did you first realize that you enjoyed writing? Do you remember?
Yeah, I was really young. I was maybe about 6 or 7 or maybe 8. I started off as a reader. Like I used to read all the time, constantly. And my mum used to get me these like little cheap paperbacks, and they would always have spare pages in the back. So what I would do is I would read the book, and then I would start writing my own little stories in those blank pages at the back. Because I thought that's what writers did. They wrote in books. So I started writing when I was really young. I didn't kind of really take it seriously, though. It was just something that I kind of did because I thought that's what everybody did. And it wasn't until I was like a teenager that I started really writing properly. Well, I say properly, but like kind of really writing set characters and set plot lines and stuff like that. So kind of around about 14, 15 was when I started writing for real.
Wow. When did you first, and did you self-publish? Because you've written a lot of books.
Hmm.
Like you have a lot of books. When
Mm.
did you publish your first one? Was that self-published or was that with a publisher?
No, I was with a publisher. I started writing my first book in 2008,
Hmm.
which feels like a really long time ago. I didn't finish it until 2013. And then
Mhm.
I signed with a kind of a smaller press, an
Hmm.
American publisher in
Hmm.
2013, and I was
Hmm.
with them for 6 years.
Hmm.
And then I started self-publishing in 2019,
Hmm.
and then I came to Deep Hearts YA when I was ready to republish Struck.
Yeah.
Um, so even that was a long time ago. That was like what,
It
2021
was.
maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was at least a few years back.
Yeah.
Yeah, time flies so fast.
Mm-hmm.
When people say 2008 was a long time ago, I'm like, oh my God. Like, it's constant for Craig and I when we're in Zoom. Like if one of us like usually somebody will get up and I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting old. Like
Yeah.
it's like everything is a pain at this age all the time now. But yeah, it's hard to believe that 2008. How many years ago was that? Was that 16 maybe?
Uh, I
I
think
16,
can't do
so.
yeah.
that. 16? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's interesting. So did you like self-publishing or not really? Is that why you ended up coming back to a smaller publisher? Like,
I do like
mm-hmm,
but it's not something that I will do for everything.
mm-hmm,
Um, so the stuff when I got my rights back from my former publisher, I kind of
mm-hmm,
thought, well, this is probably going to be a tough sell because some
mm-hmm,
of those books at that point were like 6 years old, had been out in for 6 years.
mm-hmm.
So, but I didn't want them to just go away. So
Yeah.
I was like, I'm just going to republish these myself.
Mm-hmm,
So I kind of had to learn how to do it. I
mm-hmm,
had no idea. Even I
mm-hmm,
know self-publishing kind of blossomed in that time that I was with my
mm-hmm,
first publisher, but I had no idea how to
mm-hmm,
do it.
mm-hmm.
So I had to
It's
learn.
hard.
It's tricky.
Mm-hmm,
So I had to learn how to do it, and I re-released my first 5 books. Were I put back out by myself.
wow.
But I wanted Struck to be with a publisher. I felt like it deserved kind of. It was my most new book. I'd actually only it hadn't been out for very long when I left my first publisher, so
Mm-hmm,
I wanted it to have like a home. I felt like it deserved a better platform than the one I could give it.
mm-hmm,
So that's why I was like, no, this one's going to go with the publisher. And then I felt the
mm-hmm.
same way. Well, I say I felt the same way about Never. I didn't think I was ever going to publish Never for like a really
No?
long time. No, I felt I felt like it was just for me, just like
Oh,
just something that I did for fun because I had nothing else, like literally nothing else to do.
yeah.
So for a while, I wasn't sure. Once I finished writing that first draft, I actually didn't go back to it. I think for like 18 months or so.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you decided to publish it, and I'm sure a lot of people are glad. And you've gotten really great reviews about it.
Mm-hmm.
I think people want more Never, honestly. Do you th have you thought about working on a sequel?
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Ah,
I
good.
think I think about it a lot. I kind of know roughly where second one would go. I have
Hmm.
a pretty strong idea for it, but I haven't sat down to. I'm not a pantser. I am a plotter, a
Hmm.
100%. So I
Hmm.
kind of need to sit down and go
Yeah.
through an outline chapter by chapter. But I
Hmm.
kind of know roughly what the next one would be. I have a good idea for it, but I just haven't sat down to do
Yeah.
anything solid with it yet. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's more likely than not. I think there will be another one.
Yeah, well, I think that's a great compliment to you that people want more. I always love that when people are like, I want more. Then I'm like, okay, well, I
Mhm.
did something right. Because the
Yeah.
worst is when they're like, this went on for way too long.
I think with Never as well, like it didn't end on a cliffhanger. It's a complete
Mhm.
story in
It
and of
is.
itself.
Yeah.
But I think it very much ends on an open door to okay, so what does the future actually look like
Yeah.
at the point
Mhm.
that it finishes without giving too much away? So I
Yeah.
definitely think there's room to take it further. But
Mhm.
it's just about finding the time.
Yeah. No, I totally understand that. So we did talk about Peter, but is
Mm-hmm.
Peter your favorite character in the book?
It kind of it comes and goes. I think it depends on what section I'm looking at the time because I relate really strongly to Wes as a person. I feel like
Hmm.
he and I are probably very similar.
Hmm.
So I kind of both very kind of anxious and like to catastrophize and just have a really strong inner monologue.
Mhm. No.
So he and I are kind of very similar in that sense. So he's, if I had to pick out of the two of them, he's probably my favorite, but
Hmm.
only from the point of ego that he's probably my favorite. But no, I like all it. I actually really like Tink as well, and
Hmm.
I feel bad for what happened to her without giving too much away, but I really
No
liked her as
spoilers.
well.
Yes.
No spoilers, but I
You have
really
to
like
buy the
Tink as
book.
well. Yeah.
Yeah. Craig, you got a question?
Yeah, I do. So now we know who your favorite
Mm.
characters are. Um, we think you'd get along well with them. I'm curious if Wes and Peter were standing on either side of you
Oh
and
boy.
said,
Mm.
"Hey, Vicky, let's go for coffee." Who would you go with? I really want to know. Who would you go with?
Probably Peter. I think most people would probably pick Peter, and I don't think Wes would be mad about it. I think he would
Uh,
understand. I think he would
uh,
understand.
what a little sweetie. Do you have you think you would get along? Is there a character that you wrote that you didn't really like to write, but you felt they were necessary?
I mean, not so much.
Hmm.
And Never, I feel like Never has such a small cast of
Hmm.
characters that
Hmm.
I feel like everyone is important to the
Hmm.
story.
Hmm.
Um, so no, I feel like all of the characters in that have their place. I mean, I
Hmm.
think like the mermaids in the story are very kind of cold and
Yeah.
detached
Yeah.
from everything else. I think I would probably find that quite difficult to deal with, just
Hmm.
because I'm like super anxious and super present all the time. So
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't vibe very well with that kind of
The
crowd.
mermaids. Yeah.
No, but I mean, they have their place in the story. I
Hmm.
think that because I knew there wasn't going to be. I've written ensemble casts before. Like Struck
Hmm.
has, I think you could argue like maybe seven main
Hmm.
characters.
Hmm.
So this one was really more pared down, but everyone
Yeah.
that's in it is in it for a reason.
Hmm.
So I quite like that.
Yeah, I have I've only written a couple characters that I really
Mm,
don't like, but like I felt like
mm,
they were necessary, but I
mm.
didn't like them and I don't like the stuff they did, but I had to write them in. Like they had to be there.
Yeah.
Craig, I don't think in our Christmas book we have anyone we don't like yet, right? We write anybody we hate yet?
Uh, I don't think so.
I don't
I
think so
mean, there's
either.
characters that don't like each other, but I think we like all the characters.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't
I
think
think
we've written
that's
anybody we don't like. Yeah. No.
so important. I think I would really struggle to write a character if I actively disliked them.
Hmm.
Like, I mean,
Yeah.
even villains and, people that are there to drive the plot forward
Hmm.
and that sort of thing. Like,
Hmm.
I really prefer a really charming villain
Hmm.
and someone who
Hmm.
you can kind of be like, right, okay, yes, they're doing terrible things, but they are funny. Like
Hmm.
I quite
Yeah.
enjoy that side of things. I don't think I would, if there was a character I really, really actively disliked, I don't think I would enjoy writing them at all.
Yeah, I didn't enjoy writing the two baddies that I wrote.
Mm.
I didn't. And our Christmas story is all happy and nice. So there's really no
Oh,
room for baddies in the
no.
Christmas story. There's no room there. Um, I think I know the answer to this question, but I think it's also my favorite line, which I had to look up again.
Mm.
What is your favorite line from the book?
It's when Peter tells Wesley that there are no other boys like him. I think
Hmm.
that's my.
It's so cute. It's
It's
so
puzzle.
swoony. It's so
It's
swoony.
so swoony. It's the swooniest. I think it's the swooniest line I've ever written my
Hmm.
whole career so far.
It's the
Um,
swooniest.
yeah, I just really like it because you can tell Wes has never heard that from anyone, like, or
Hmm.
even got remotely close to anything like that before ever
Hmm.
his whole life.
Yeah.
So it was a really nice moment. And I think that's the moment that for me, when I was writing it, I was like, oh, okay, yeah,
This is
this
gonna
is
do
gonna
good.
happen. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I can speak for myself. I think I can speak for Crick. We're not that great at remembering lines from stories. So
No.
Me either.
when we got your interview back, I was like, wait, what is this? And it gave me goosebumps. And I was like, this
Mhm.
gave me goosebumps. This is so cute. It's so adorable. Like there's just some lines that you write. And if you can give me goosebumps when you read something, then I'm like, ooh, that's the good stuff. So yeah, that was it for me. I love that line too. Craig, what do you got?
Yeah, I think I'd like to know, Vicky, can you pick
Mhm.
10 words to describe your book?
Mm,
Ooh.
that's
Um,
fun.
It's fun. I'm gonna have to count them off on my fingers too.
That's
Yeah.
fine. That's
Probably
fine.
adventurous for sure. I do think it is quite romantic. It ends up quite romantic. I think it's definitely quite sweet and quite funny. Oh God, I'm only at 4 and I'm stuck already.
That's
com-
okay.
Definitely coming of age, I think, is a really important theme. I think grief is really important too through the
So
book.
is coming of age one word or 3?
I thought I was going to count it as 3 for her.
Yeah,
She was
let's
struggling.
count it
Yeah.
as 3, and then I only have one more. Yeah, probably just hopefully entertaining. I think
Yeah.
I find it quite entertaining, but obviously I'm biased, so.
No, I know, but it is entertaining. Now, how are your doggies? You have 3
Mhm.
dogs, right? You
Yeah.
told me 3. Okay. What kind of doggies are they?
So I have a black pug called
Mhm.
Mr. T, and he is 13.
Mhm.
And then I have a white French bulldog called Charlie, and she's going to be 12 in November.
Mhm.
And those two both have kind of special needs. Mr. T has like nerve damage and stuff, and
Mhm.
arthritis and that sort of thing. He got hit by a car when he was younger, so
Oh, goodness.
yeah. So, but he's fine. He's fine.
Mhm.
And Charlie's deaf. So
Mhm.
she's 100% deaf, cannot hear a thing. And
Oh.
then I have a teacup Pomeranian. She's very, very small, and her name is Daisy, and she just turned 5.
Oh, yeah, we saw
So
Daisy. I saw the post.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so
Daisy
cute.
just turned 5 last week, so
Oh,
she's the young one of the
she's
litter.
the little one. How are
Yeah.
they when you're writing? Are they like they want your attention or they let you write when you want to
No,
sit?
they're fairly chill. Like I work from home 2 days a week.
Mhm.
So they're kind of used to me being around a lot.
Mhm.
And no, they just, I mean, especially Charlie and Mr. T are of an age now where not much excites them.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
they just sleep a lot.
Mhm.
And Daisy's just quite chill. So
Yeah.
no, they're cool. They just usually when I'm writing, if I'm writing in the kitchen, they'll just sit at my feet and just
Mhm.
sleep. So
Yeah,
they're
that's
good.
cute. Yeah, well, Craig's cats are always very active when we're writing. Like
Yeah.
they're usually like he's not at his house right now, but the cats are usually like walking across or laying on his arms while we're writing.
Aw.
So they're very involved with the writing process.
Yeah, so one of them will not only lay in my arms, but sometimes he'll have a paw resting on my hand, and so I have to type with him sort of guiding my hand.
Hmm. Which is adorable. His little paw just like sits there while I
Mhm.
That is
type.
so cute.
It's so cute. Um, the other thing is, this is not related to your book. You go to a lot of concerts, or does it just look
Mm-hmm.
like you go to a lot of concerts?
It probably just looks that way. I don't go to as many as I used to.
Mhm.
I thought for a while that I was going to be a music journalist.
Oh.
And that's what I went to university for. I went to
Mhm.
study journalism and creative writing. I did it as a joint kind of honors
Mhm.
degree.
Mhm.
So for a while I used to go to concerts like at least once or twice a
Mhm.
month. Sometimes there would be weeks where I'd have like 2 or 3 concerts per week, like kind of in the
Oh,
summer. But
wow.
luckily, like Glasgow, where I live at the minute, has such great venues, and a lot of bands, if they're going to come over here and play, Glasgow is usually where they play.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't go to as many as I used to, but it's mostly because I don't think bands tour as much as they used to. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's something that I do whenever I get the chance.
Yeah. Who is your favorite band that you've gotten to see?
It's definitely My Chemical Romance. They're my favorite band ever.
Mhm.
I'm
Mhm.
actually coming over to the States
Mm.
mid-October to see them. They're
Oh,
playing,
exciting.
yeah, they're doing a festival appearance
Mhm.
in Las Vegas. So I'm coming over for
Oh.
that. Um
Ooh.
but yeah, I've seen them like a whole bunch of times. But I
Mhm.
really like to see 21 Pilots are always great live. I'm seeing them soon. Well,
Mhm.
I say soon, it's next year. But I'm gonna when they come here, I'm gonna see them a bunch of times. I'm gonna go see them in London, and I'll see them here in Glasgow as well. So
Oh, that's
yeah.
cool. So will
Yeah.
it be the same show? Because I've always wondered that. Talked to a couple people that when their favorite bands tour, they go see them at multiple
Uh-huh.
places. Is it the same show or is
Yeah.
every show kind of different?
It depends. A lot of it depends on the band and how much production they have.
Mm-hmm.
So like My Chemical Romance are kind of just in their doing this for fun era. So
Mm-hmm.
they don't really have much stage production. So
Oh, okay.
when they were in the UK last, I saw them 3 times, and the set was slightly different each time.
Hmm.
But I think for a band like 21 Pilots, they have pyrotechnics, and they have big
Hmm.
screens on the stage and
Hmm.
that sort of thing. So their set list probably will be the same.
The same. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you like it that much, then that's
Yep.
super fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think we have a friend that saw, well, not, I don't think, I know. We have two friends that have seen Taylor Swift like all like 3 times each, like the same concert, like in 3 different places. Because they're both huge Swifties.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that leads me into my next question, which is, do you listen to music while you write?
Absolutely. I have a
Hmm.
playlist for a book before I ever sit down to write
Oh,
it.
oh.
So I've always done it that way. So
Hmm.
I kind of always say to people, oh, I know what this book sounds like. Like
Hmm.
I visualize a lot, but I also know, like, if it were to be a TV show, for example, this is
Hmm.
what it would sound like. Like, this is what the
Yeah.
music would be.
Yeah.
So I always have a playlist done before
Hmm.
I sit down and do the book. So I usually do that round about the same time I hammer out the plot details.
Ah,
And then when I write, that playlist will be the only thing that's on.
ah,
So I
wow.
rely pretty heavily on.
That's really cool. Yeah, I just
Yeah.
write I listen to whatever sounds good, and then that becomes
Mm-hmm.
whatever the mood is of whatever the scene is, like whatever I feel like it sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really cool. Do you have, is that that's a Spotify playlist we have for you,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you able to see how many people listen to it or no?
No, I honestly, I'm not great with
Yeah.
technology so much.
Mhm.
Like
I
I know how
wasn't
to
sure
do
if we could
basic
see
things.
or not. Yeah, it's exciting though. Like I love
Mm-hmm.
making playlists is so fun. And what was I just gonna tell you? It was something about my playlist. I don't know. My playlist, you said you stick to the one and mine gets
Mm-hmm.
really long. So mine's the opposite because like if I'm writing an angsty scene, then I have
Mm-hmm.
to find something that makes me feel
Mm-hmm.
that emotion. And then I've said it a million times, so I sound like a broken record, but I only listen to like J-pop or K-pop because
Mm-hmm.
the words will distract me. So I just listen to the way that the singer sounds.
Mm-hmm.
And so usually it's the opposite, Vicky. Like I think that they're feeling angsty and they're singing about something really happy, or I'm feeling like the opposite of what they were actually trying to convey, but it works for me in the
Mm-hmm.
end. Um, but I need music while I write. And
Mm-hmm.
Craig, you listen to
Mhm.
music too.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
usually listen to music
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
I am curious though, if you do your playlist before you start writing your book,
Mm-hmm.
do you ever get like midway through a book and you're like, this playlist is not right, and then make changes to it?
Usually I don't take anything off, but I have been known to add stuff in. So
Hmm.
because it takes me so long to write a book, I am not a fast writer at all.
Hmm.
Then chances are, like, by the time I start a book, and then by the time I get maybe halfway through or 3/4 of the way through, there'll be a new band that I like,
Hmm.
or I'll have heard the song and I'll be like, oh no, wait, that should definitely go in
Hmm.
there.
Hmm.
So when I started writing Never, I had the playlist, I thought it was done. And then I was talking to one of my friends and I was like, oh, I'm gonna do this Peter Pan retelling.
Hmm.
And she was like, oh, you should hear this song. And it's
Hmm.
actually the last song on the playlist, and it's
Hmm.
called Lost Boy by Ruth B.
Yes. Hmm.
And I listened to it and I was like, oh, okay, that's uncanny, like how
Hmm.
much that lines up.
Hmm.
So I was like, okay, well, that has to go on.
Hmm.
So usually I might sometimes, depending on if there's a song that catches my ear, or if someone who knows what I'm working on will be like, oh, this would work really well for that, then I will add a song in.
Hmm.
So yeah, sometimes the playlist does change, but usually the majority of it stays the same.
Yeah. And then we were just you either I imagined it or you just brought up Netflix, right? If it got made into a show, did you bring up Netflix or did I imagine
Yeah,
that?
well, I kind of said I
You
know
did,
what it
right?
would sound like. Yeah.
Okay, yes, that's what it was. Now,
Mm-hmm.
if Netflix calls you tomorrow and wants to do an
Mm-hmm.
adaptation, who
Mm-hmm.
plays Peter Pan?
Oh, I
You
have
can
no
have anybody
idea.
you want. Anybody you want. Anyone. Come on. You
I
could
mean,
pick.
I think in terms of looks, it would probably have to be not Jamie Campbell Bower, because I think he's, no offense to Jamie Campbell Bower, who's
Mhm.
fantastic, maybe a little bit too old now,
Mhm.
but someone kind of like that.
Mhm.
Definitely I would want somebody who looks great blonde, because the
Mhm.
fact that Peter's blonde is a very big
Yeah. Yeah.
thing in the book.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I would quite like to see somebody unknown maybe tackle it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think that, especially if you're playing a character like Peter Pan or Tinkerbell or Captain Hook, like characters that people have a picture of and have grown up with, oh, this is what they look like. I think it would be really hard for any actor to kind of step
Yeah.
into that
Yeah.
if they're well known. So but then I said I wanted Jamie Campbell to play when I wrote my vampire series. I thought he would be great for that too. But he was younger then. But somebody kind of that vibe, I would definitely like to see a British person play Peter.
Yeah.
I think that would be great.
I think that would be so fun to be like part of casting for a book.
Oh, I would
Like,
love it.
wouldn't that be so fun? Yeah, I would love it. But I would also like, I think I would struggle with the opposite, where they were like, oh, we want to make this into a Netflix film, but you can't have any say in anything. I think that would be really hard. Like,
Yeah.
because you'd be excited that it was going to be like made for Netflix, but you couldn't talk. And then they hired a bunch of people that you didn't agree with. I think that would be kind of difficult.
It could be difficult, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think I'd be quite, I'm quite relaxed when it comes to film adaptations. Like, although I'm like a really big reader and stuff, and some of my favorite books have been turned into films, I tend to be like, well, it's a completely different medium. I have a friend who works in the film industry, and so I kind of know it's very, very different, I think, than what we do as writers. So I think hopefully I would be relaxed enough to be like, no, you know what, this is your thing, like go do what you like. Because my friend who works in the industry did write a screenplay for one of my books, and I was a bit like, oh, okay, let's have a look. And it was slightly different, but it worked. It worked in the context that it was in. So I'd like to think I would be quite relaxed
pretty
about
chill.
it.
Yeah, that's really cool. They wrote a screenplay for it. That's so cool.
It was great. It was very weird to read it. Because I was like, oh, this is my story, but at the same time, there was definitely a degree of separation there.
Yeah.
So I think I would be, hopefully, if Netflix. So
Yeah.
Netflix, if you want to call, I promise I won't be a control freak about it.
Yeah, don't call Cali. They're not gonna call you. They don't call me. I can make no promises. What do you got, Craig? You got
I think we've asked like everything on the list, and
we have asked everything on the list, but that's okay. I know what do you do for fun typically do you work all week or do you have like scattered days off? Are you Monday through Friday?
I'm Monday through Friday, 8:30 till 5:30. So I kind of have a very full week in the week. But I just kind of, I don't think I do anything too out of the ordinary. Like I obviously go to concerts and stuff, but I like to go to the cinema and I read a lot and like that sort of thing.
Well, I like that when you add the stuff to the stories about the current reads that we share, that we don't really read that many of the current books. Because I really don't read that. We read like our stuff from our authors, but I don't really read that much other stuff. Like we've been reading Heaven Official's Blessing, which I love so much. But other than that, I don't really read that much that's out currently. So I don't know. But I do have a lot of reader friends. Yeah.
Well, I think reading books and collecting books are two completely different hobbies. And I think I kind of, at the minute, just time-wise, fall more into the collecting book side of things. It can be quite hard for like a current release to kind of catch my eye. But it is just because, there's so easily distracted and there's so much going on.
It's so wild going in Barnes and Noble now, like as an author and like looking at all the books around you. Like, it's just like, I always tell Craig, like whenever like one of my books gets sold, I feel like so honored that anyone even buys it because there's so many books to choose from. Like I was there today and I was like overwhelmed looking at the shelves. I'm like, there's just so much. So I don't know. I think it's really cool to be a part of something so big. And I know
Yeah.
that we're thrilled that Never is part of our collection.
Mhm.
And I'm really happy to hear that you're working on a sequel. That's, well, not working on it, but that you have plans for a sequel. That is
It's there. It's
important.
percolating
Yes.
currently.
Yes, that's what's important. And then I think the last thing I wanted to ask was how many books do you have out right now?
Um, well, I have a box set which is three full-length novels, and it
Hmm.
has a short story. It has like a 15K novella, and I think it has
Hmm.
like three or four short stories in it. So
Hmm.
one publication, but that was three novels. That was my first three, and then I
Hmm.
have two books out in the contemporary romance series I did after that, and then
Hmm.
I have Struck and I have Never. So currently we're at seven.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Do you
Mhm.
think you had more fun writing one series than another?
Mm.
Or you have
I
this?
I think I definitely the second series that I did, which remains unfinished after all this time. So apologies if any of my readers are listening. I'm working on it. I do promise. Um, it was kind of because it was about a band. Um,
Hmm.
and I started writing it when I still had like my webzine and like I was
Hmm.
still very much in the music journalist space.
Hmm.
That is something that I always really enjoyed. It felt the closest to my life in a way.
Hmm.
So I really enjoyed writing that, but the last book has just been so difficult. And I
Aw.
don't know if it's because it's the last one, and I'm
Hmm.
like, I don't want to let it go.
Aw.
So
Yeah.
I really love that, but everything that I've written, I only wrote it. It only got to the end stage because I loved it.
Hmm.
If I didn't love it, I wouldn't have finished it.
Yeah.
So I think you can kind of chart where I was in my
Hmm.
life with which books came out at the time. So like my
Hmm.
vampire series, I started writing when Twilight was a thing,
Ah.
and then
Hmm.
and then my music series I started writing when I was very much in the music journalist space, and then Struck came around because I was deep into the MCU, and I
Hmm.
was like, oh, I want to do that. I want to have
Hmm.
fun with that.
Hmm.
And then obviously Never kind of came around because I was very isolated, and I think that kind of translates a lot in the book. And you just want to go away and have an adventure. So
Hmm.
I love them all in their own ways.
Hmm. Well, that's awesome. I really think that's really cool. And you have like such a nice variety too.
I've
Like
Mhm.
done
I
everything. I
yeah,
feel like I've done everything.
you've done everything. Like that's so exciting. And then Halloween's coming up. Do you do
Hmm.
anything special for Halloween? Do you
Oh
dress
yeah,
up?
I dress up. My house is the house in the neighborhood that everybody comes to. Like we have a queue of
Ooh.
trick or treaters at the door.
Oh,
So
yay.
we decorate the whole house, and the dogs get costumes, and I
Oh,
have a costume. And then
oh.
I take the day off work specifically if Halloween falls on a weekday,
Hmm.
so that I can, hang out and give out sweets and stuff to the trick or treaters. And yeah,
Mm,
we so my decorations are actually they're going up on the 30th of September. I have planned it
hmm.
out already. So
Mm.
Halloween a
Cute.
very big deal around here.
Oh, cute. I can't wait to see pictures. I'm so excited. Do you already have your costume picked out for you and the dogs?
The dogs are going to be ghosts this year.
Oh, cute.
They were skeletons last year.
Hmm.
Their costumes came in the other week. Daisy's does not fit
Oh,
because she's so
no.
small.
Oh.
So I might have to rejig that one a little bit. But I don't
Hmm.
have a costume yet, but they have a costume.
I don't know what I'm dressing up as this year. We usually dress up, do coordinating costumes, my husband and I with the
Oh,
kids. Like last year we were Genshin Impact characters. So we all dressed up as that. And then, yeah, you don't have enough costume yet either, right, Craig?
No, I don't,
Yeah.
and I need to come up with them because I go to a huge
Hmm.
Halloween party every year where costumes are required. And there's a
mm-hmm.
costume contest too, so like I want to put some effort into it.
Hmm.
And we always seem to buy like the store-bought ones, which are fine, but they're not really creative.
Mm-hmm.
This year I want to figure it out. Like I don't know why, but John has like this monkey onesie, and like
Hmm.
I'm thinking we could maybe do Planet of the Apes. Like one of us could
You
have a ripped
could.
Mm-hmm.
shirt,
Yeah.
or we could do if one of us can get like a yellow suit, we could do Curious George and the man in the yellow
Oh,
hat.
yeah, that would be cute.
Like that's
Yeah.
kind of what I'm aiming for. Like we have this monkey onesie. I don't know why.
Hmm.
Might as well
Mm,
use it.
interesting. A monkey onesie. I had not
It
considered.
comes with a banana that's kind of like hooked onto the
Well,
arm.
then yeah, John definitely has to have it. But see, you hate bananas.
I do. I
So
do.
yeah, so it's but it doesn't. I'm sorry, the monkey ones. Okay. All right, awesome. Well, this was super duper fun. I'm so glad that we got to meet you. There are two things we need from you.
Mhm.
Number one is, can you tell readers where they can find you online?
Yeah, so I am mostly, I think my most active social media is my Instagram. And my username on there is just Victoria Kinnaird, the same name that I publish under. I have a website, it's victoriakinnaird.com. And I think those are probably the ones that get updated the most. So if you're
Mhm.
looking for me, I think that's probably the best place.
Perfect. And Bestie, why don't you tell her what she has to do
Yeah, so
next?
we always put our guests on the spot by making
Oh
them
God.
come up with the final thought for the episode. So, with all of your wisdom, what is the final thought for today?
Um, I don't know. If you're gonna write what you love. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise, and
Hmm.
just have a blast with
Perfect.
That's
See?
excellent. Yeah.
That's a great final thought. And we didn't even prep you for that. We didn't even give you a heads up. That was great. Okay, awesome. Well, I think that wraps it up for us, Vicky. And like we're super grateful. Thank you. I know with the time difference, I'm so glad that we were able to make it work
it.
out.
Same. It was
Yeah.
so great to come on. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Anytime. And we wish you more success with Never. And yeah, let us know when that sequel's ready. I want to take a look
Mhm.
at
You'll be the
it.
first to know, I promise.
All right, well, awesome. Have a great day.
You too. Bye,
See you later.
guys.
Thank
Bye.
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.
And now it's time for coffee with Callie and Craig. That was super fun.
Yeah, I really like meeting Becky.
I know. She was so nice. I knew she would be so nice. I wanted to kind of keep her all afternoon, but it's afternoon for us and it's
Yes.
night for her. So I wanted to be respectful of the time too. But yeah, if you haven't, for listeners at home, if you haven't checked out Never, definitely go to our website, deepheartsya.com, and check it out because her cover is just beautiful. And it is a really nice, sweet story that she wrote. So and I just her personality is so nice. She's so nice and easygoing. And
Hmm.
I can't wait to see pictures of the dogs as ghosts.
Yes,
So
yes. Yeah,
probably
when
super cute.
when I was younger and we had a dog, we had a costume every year for the dog.
Hmm.
I like dressing up animals.
Yeah,
A couple years ago, well,
yeah.
a couple, like 6 years ago maybe,
Hmm.
we found the bag of dog costumes and they fit the cats. So,
Well,
and they put up with getting costumes put on, but like they don't recognize each other when they're wearing a costume, so it leads to fights. So we don't do that very often.
which cat did remember was it Cinco de Mayo who stuck the little hat on? Who has that? We have a picture of one of
Oh,
your cats with it. Was that
yeah, I
Wizard?
think the picture, I put it on both of them. The picture I'm remembering is Shiger, but
I can't
Wizard would have had
remember.
it too.
Yeah, I think you stuck it on both of them when we were in there. I can't
Mhm.
remember which picture I'm thinking of, whether, but I think it's on our page. I think it's already on the Callie
Yes,
and
I
Craig
think it
Talk
is.
page. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, and then our next episode, um, hmm, I'm not sure what our next episode is. All I know
I
is John's
don't know
going away
either.
for a couple days, so
Yeah.
that means we get to do more fun stuff
Hmm.
and baking and I don't know, lots of fall stuff. We're going to be making a pumpkin soup pretty soon.
We
So
are. Yeah.
yeah, that one I'm super looking forward to. And upside down chicken pot pie.
Yes, I'm really looking forward to that one.
Yeah, which is totally not because we have an extra pie crust and we have nothing else to do with it. But that'll be yum. And yeah, as the garden winds down, we'll get to make
Hmm.
more stuff, more and more stuff as you bringing stuff in. And yeah, it's all
Yeah.
exciting. Yeah. So we'll see. And then we, for fans of our writing, we had our cover revealed today, the day of this recording, which will be a few days ago. By the time you listen to it, for Cookies, Candles, and Cute Butts for Christmas, our upcoming Christmas novel.
Yeah, that is not a young adult novel.
No,
It's
no.
definitely in the spicy, spicy, spicy end of things.
Hmm.
But also with like a lot of feels and a lot of
Yeah,
emotions and a lot of like character stuff. I'm having a blast writing it.
yeah, no, we've had a lot of fun with it, and I'm really looking forward to people reading it, and that will be a deep Desires press title. Yes, that
Yes.
is not a Deep Hearts title.
No,
And
no.
Craig is using his money pen name, which is Cameron D. James, but I have decided to use my Cali Kitsu name just because. That's all.
Yeah. Let me tell you, it is easier to do it under one pen name. Don't do what
Yeah,
I did, which is branch off, because then you have
yeah.
two accounts on everything.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you have so many. You have so many
Mhm.
accounts. Yeah, but I'm really looking forward to people seeing that. And that releases on November 1st, but you can pre-order it now and make these two authors, your favorite co-hosts, super, super happy. Because
Mhm.
pre-orders make us feel good. So hop over to Amazon and give us a little pre-order. And I think that wraps it for us today.
I believe it does. Yeah. So should
Hmm.
I tell people where to follow us?
Hmm.
All right. We are on, oh God, we're on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter / X, Threads, and TikTok at Cali Craig Talk, CaliCraigTalk.
Perfect. I think. I don't
Yeah.
really know, but I'm going to take your word for
Yep.
it. All right. Well, that's it. We will see everyone next time. Thanks for listening.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, bye for real. Bye.